I have a genuine problem staying awake during meetings for literally anything. Any kind of meeting where it's just somebody talking or presenting something, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. It's awful, awful. Anyway, intro.
Yep.
Ready? Wonderful. Hello and welcome to Heroic Inspiration, my TTRPG show where I talk to my multi-talented guests about all things D&D and other gaming systems. With me today is an expert in which monsters you can and should romance. It's AB from MysticArts. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for finding time in amongst being, the an integral part of the hottest new YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yes. Suddenly my weekly schedule is filled with YouTube related things, which if you had told me that a year ago, I would have said that's a funny joke. I don't I watch YouTube. I only consume.
No YouTube for me, thank you. And yeah, now you guys are closing in on 50K, I think.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But we're not here to talk about YouTube. It's kind of, we're on YouTube. I guess we're always sort of talking about YouTube. I'm not going to think about that too much. I nearly sent myself over the edge there. We're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons mostly. Um,
Yes.
when did you discover Dungeons and Dragons?
So I started when I was in college. It was, I believe, junior year, so it's the third year out of four. Uh, and I was watching a bunch of YouTube, and I had discovered the McElroy
Mm-hmm.
siblings, like Griffin, Justin. Oh my god, I should know their names. Whatever.
The other
And
one.
at the time they worked for Polygon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they were like doing some video series that I thought were really funny. So I was just kind of going through their stuff. Like they had a website with all their podcasts and things. And I saw they had a D&D podcast called The Adventure Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had been aware of D&D, I just hadn't really had a chance to play it. I think like the previous year I had a friend who played it and
Mm-hmm.
like gave me a character sheet, and I
Right.
like made a character, but we never ended up playing, so I was like, okay, I guess it's not a thing I'll be doing. Excuse me. But then I saw the podcast. I was like, well, if I can't play, I might as well live through someone else's experience. And yeah, I just thought it was a really fun, engaging season, the first season,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I really liked it. So I started looking at Roll20 because yeah, I didn't really have any people around me that were free or wanted to play. So I started playing online, and I really liked it, and I have been playing since.
Have you been mostly playing or DMing in that time?
For about a year and a half, I was DMing. It was during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
so you know, why not pick up another skill then? Uh, but mostly I've been a player. Like I did DMing and I liked it, but it was very anxiety inducing for me.
Mm.
Um, I just like I'm an anxious person in general. And you know, as things happens, like I just got in my head about it. The campaign eventually died. I have DM'd for Dade once. I did like a little solo session for him where he was playing a grung, and
Very
I
cool.
did a little adventure for him. But mostly I'm a player. Like day to day basis, I'm a player. I don't have any immediate plans for DMing or anything.
That's
Maybe
very
another session. He does ask for a follow up, so we can do grung part two
grung
electrical glue.
stuff.
Yeah,
One, I wasn't going to bring this up in this one, but one-on-one D&D is a special kind of fantastic.
yeah.
Um, Planning the session is tough because you've just got the one player to talk to, but it's so nice
Mhm.
as a player and as the DM just to be able to like RP and not worry about sharing the spotlight or anything else. It's
Yeah.
great.
I have an ongoing campaign with Dale called Octavia, I mean, it's just the name of my character.
Mm-hmm.
We use her sometimes as an example in some of our videos. And I think we started 2023.
Mm.
I think it was the year we started dating. Um, yeah, or like January of 2024. It's been going for a bit, and yeah, it's a solo campaign, and yeah, he's talked about the same stuff. Like it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Because there's only one other player.
Yep.
Um, And so in terms of like role play, or if I have questions, or if I like basically if I want to talk to anyone, it's all him.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot of pressure on him because in our kind of main campaign right now, there's 7 players, right? And we're the type of group that really likes to just yap, just talk. So the a lot of Dada's favorite sessions are when he just like, kind of sits back in his chair and we talk to each other for like
Yeah.
an hour and a half or something, and he doesn't need to do anything. So it kind of eases the burden on him in terms of responsibility. Like obviously he's prepped, he's ready for the
Yeah.
session, but there's not as much pressure for him to maintain like my focus
Yeah.
or whatever to keep things moving. Because there's no like, 5-minute break, 30-second where
Yeah.
I'm talking to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that not switching off as the DM is tough because you're switched on so much anyway because
Yeah.
you're the game engine and the voice acting and all of the other things all at the same time, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's like you say, as the DM as well, like a lot of the times the best sessions you have are the ones where you just go talk and then you don't do
Yeah.
anything else.
But that's why I appreciate it a lot, Octavia. I really love it. It's like, I mean, it's basically a date for us because it's just us two. And yeah, I love it. I'm always like, can we play more? But it's a lot of work, so I I take it when I can have it.
I respect it, as we all do with any D&D most of the time. To be fair, you are part of the long-term campaign, obviously that Dardy's been running.
Mhm.
How many campaigns are you in alongside that?
So Kingmaker, that's what it's called, uh, is the main one I'm in. We have uh a kind of smaller, like once a month kind of like side adventure that we're doing in another area. I
Mhm.
think if any of the people watching this are a subscriber or anything, he did a live stream some months back basically about preparing an adventure. And I
Mhm.
haven't watched that, and the players in that campaign haven't watched that because that's the one we're playing. And then there's Octavia, and I think that's it. That's all I'm doing
Okay.
right now. Like the only D&D I play is with Dade because he's insane and wants to run 50 things at once. Um, so yeah.
Absolutely called out. What kind of characters are you playing in the 3 different campaigns?
Sure. So in Kingmaker, I'm playing a ranger.
Mhm.
Her name is Maeve Lockwood. She is or used to be a lawyer. Um, but through a series of chaotic events, I have ended up in a giant forest with a bunch of other people, and we're trying to like make sense of what the heck is going on. Um, she a fun thing for Maeve for me is that I just so a lot of times when I make up characters, if there's not immediately like a class or something that I'm thinking of, I
Mm.
tend to make characters just based on like appearance.
Mm.
I'm an artist, so I like to draw. I like character design, so a lot of things I don't like think of personality or backstory first. I go from appearance first, and I was like, I should have an eye patch. What if I was like a sniper with an eye patch? That's fun, right? Haha. So one of the things I said it really early on because Dada did like solo sessions for all of us
Mm.
before starting the campaign. It was like 4 to 5 sessions
Yeah.
um, to kind of develop a backstory. And I told him, I don't know how it happens, but I want to lose an eye. And I want it to be traumatic and terrible and horrible. And he went, okay, bet. um, so that was fun kind of playing through that. Yeah, so that's Maeve. She's sad, she's traumatized, she's lost an eye. Uh, that actually has mechanical effects too. I can't, if I make a range attack beyond 30 feet, it's at disadvantage. So
Fun.
yeah, yeah, it's fun.
Do you get a
Yeah,
benefit from it as well, or is it just a negative?
no, it's just a negative.
Just a
I
negative.
mean, I said to him, I like it's basically just like a visual aesthetic thing, but
Mm.
um lingering injuries are a thing in our campaign, and I'm not the only character who has one.
Okay.
So it's just like, what, that makes sense. But we all have a kind of like side quests and things to do in our downtime.
Mm.
One of the things I can do is to basically, if I spend enough time like using a ranged weapon with someone else who's proficient in it, I can eventually like learn to
Right.
shoot normally.
That's
Eventually,
incredibly cool.
yeah. So it's just like, yeah, when we have downtime, I do that. So eventually I will be able to shoot, not a disadvantage. But for now, I hang out. Actually, a fun thing he gave me in one of my solo sessions. Well, okay, he didn't give it to me. There was a possibility that I couldn't have run into it
Mm,
because we were doing a hex crawl. I was
right.
testing one of the first iterations that he made. So that, there were several things I could have found or might have missed. And in one of the places that I found, it was kind of this like rundown keep. I found a little fairy dragon. So I have like a pet fairy dragon,
Very cool.
and it is like the stat block. So whatever the fairy dragon youth, I think, is
Hmm.
the mechanical term, she can do that. But she's not familiar or anything. So if she dies, she dies.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Stressful.
I'm yeah, it's stressful. But I've been using her basically because she can go invisible.
Right.
So in certain fights, I like send her out, and then she uses the help action, so that if I'm really trying to shoot something at long distance,
Yeah.
I basically, it's made at a normal roll instead of disadvantage, since it
That's
would
very
be on
fun.
that 30-foot marker
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the eye.
That's very fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, the other main campaign is Octavia, as I said. So Octavia is a character concept that I actually made up before I met Dade, before I started playing with him. I believe I played it in like a few sessions of a
Mm.
game I was playing online. I don't remember what it was about. I don't, think it was a while ago. But just the name stuck in my head, and the appearance, which is like I wanted a gray tiefling paladin. Everyone
Mm.
wants a paladin at some point, and tieflings are fun and edgy.
Hmm.
So I was like, gray tiefling paladin. And then I just never got over that like visual in my head because again, like I'm all about like aesthetics when it
Mm.
comes to characters. And so yeah, then when I started dating Tade, and eventually we were talking about stuff to do, and the possibility of a solo campaign came up. I was like, okay, well I have this like cool character I like never really got to resolve. Um, so playing in an area called Riverfell,
Hmm.
which is in Orthan, that is campaign setting. And I'm kind of playing through like events. We're basically like resolving what happened in this area
Mm.
during like a time span that's already passed, like in canon.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
so there was this thing called there's this big war basically that in the last big campaign that Dade played through like with his current players
Yeah.
before I joined the group or anything, like they're really last big game, there was like this big war that lasted I think three years or something. And for part of that, they like time skipped through it and did stuff and jumped and whatever. And so I'm playing through basically like what happened in this one country
Mm.
during that time skip because they hadn't really decided what happened there. So
Yeah.
it's just a we're resolving, political situation. It's also an area where the barrier between the Feywild is really weak. So like I'm having a lot of interactions with stuff in the Feywild. Like literally just last session, I met Titania, uh,
Nice.
a like this old priest that helped me with a quest a while ago. Like he had stayed in the Feywild
Mm.
because uh, we thought his daughter might have been like taken by a hag because his
Hmm.
daughter had been missing like ever since she was like really really young. And so we found something that might have been hints of his daughter, so he was like staying behind.
Mm.
So yeah, right now it's just like Feywild Central.
That's super cool. I love the Feywild so much as a
Yeah.
part of any campaign because as a DM, you can just sort of make it up. I had a spider wave back at my players in a couple of sessions ago. They were in the Feywild because they followed someone they shouldn't have been following and ended up there. And one of the player characters was like, "Let me just try something," and waved at a spider, this like enormous hunter spider, and it waved
Mhm.
back. And he was just like, "I hate this place.
Yeah.
This place is
You know,
great."
that's exactly what that is said. Like because you can make it everything or
Yeah,
like anything basically. It's what each DM can have basically like their own version of the
yeah.
Feywild or do whatever they want. So it's really a space where you can just like kind of go crazy.
It's
Um
fun.
Yeah, it's also because it's just me,
Mm.
in order to like make balancing fights a little easier, he also gives me he uses the sidekick system from
Hmm.
Tasha's. So if there's NPCs that I end up getting along with or are
Yeah.
useful or whatever, obviously I don't have like a whole army, but
Mm.
so for example in the Feywild, the last time I was there, I met this goblin who is now showing up now. And like I have the goblin's an expert in
Hmm.
psychic terms. I have another expert with me who's like an NPC that I've known basically since the beginning of the campaign.
Hmm.
And then Eamon, who's the old man. Right now I have to go save him. He's been captured by like the Goblin King.
Yep.
Is he's a priest, so I think I forget what the like he's a caster, and then I just picked all like the cleric themed spells or
Yeah.
whatever.
A
So
Healy
like
boy.
yes. Uh so yeah, so when I meet a character, that will let me know like afterwards, basically when it becomes relevant, like, oh, you can make a sidekick version of this. And a lot of the times I'll ask him like, oh, what proficiencies do you think they should have or whatever. Like I
Mm.
can't like custom create my
Yeah.
favorite or optimized whatever. It's like based on the requirements
Mm.
or ideas that Dali has.
Very, very cool. How do you go about? So you start with the visual aspect of the character. How do you get from there to like the completed idea?
Mm, so for basically every adventure that Dali's run for me, uh, there's been kind of like a mini questionnaire or something that he
Okay.
sends us before the campaign starts. Just like stuff to think about to kind of like you said, like get the gears turning,
Mm.
think about them as a character. And it's not really something that I had been doing before playing with Dali
Yeah.
because this is the most kind of narrative role play focus group I've
Yeah.
ever been a part of. Um, so I tend to depend on like, okay, where's the adventure taking place? Like I try to identify where I'm from because that informs so much of like who we are
Yeah.
as people. So for example, Maeve, who I was talking about earlier, she lives in the north of the country that she's from. So temperatures are colder. It's a very wooded area. So I was like, oh, what if, I know logging and like and cutting trees and stuff is like it's a big uh, part of the economy there. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
what if I like, what if my family owns a logging mill or whatever?
Hmm.
And so I just kind of went down there and I was like, okay, well, if my family owns a company, then we're probably more well off. So like,
Mm.
okay, so I'm rich. How does that affect me? Blah, 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 blah. So I like to situate myself. And then from that kind of basic facts, I feel like I can spin it into an actual person.
That's very cool, and I feel like almost the reverse of how a lot of players do it. Because I know a lot of players are like, I have a build concept or a specific subclass or something I want to play, and then work
Yeah.
back from there.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think class is probably the first thing I think of. I'm like, okay, what? Because regardless of how cool I look or whatever, it's like, okay, what am I gonna play? Like, what
Yeah.
am I gonna have fun doing when we roll for initiative or something like that? Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I just because yeah, I mentioned to you I think before the interview started, but like I'm a writer.
Hmm.
I love reading. Like I'm big on story, so I like to get into the nitty gritty of who my character is.
Very cool. Is there a like a archetype of character you haven't played that you want to play?
Mm. Um, Suddenly I forget all archetypes ever. Uh, so my first character ever was a no, not a tiefling. Was an elf warlock. I
Hmm.
played a couple elves. Like I played some magic-y elves.
Hmm.
That's an archetype. I've done that.
Yeah.
Now I'm playing kind of snippy traumatized human.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm I'm pretty good. I tend to go for like snippy girl fighting back against the world.
Right.
So actually probably just like a more chill character. Like all of my characters are freaking out. Actually, yes, that is the through line for all my characters. They're all freaking out about something. Like it's not like every single time you talk to them they're like having a panic attack,
Mm.
but like their frame of mind for the adventure is always like uh looked at like through the lens of like my life is falling apart,
Yeah.
and I don't know how. I'm just a normal person, and suddenly I'm living through historical events,
Mm,
you know? So, yeah, definitely someone more, chill. Also someone more, like, manipulative
mm,
or kind of, like, schemy. Um, like, those are really interesting. And there are some people at the table that I think that are really good in the kind of, you know, like, cerebral,
mm,
approach to things. Uh, I just get really, like I tend to get, like, emotional at the table, like,
mm.
it's really easy for me to tap into, like, the emotional aspect of a scene or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I find it a bit hard sometimes to, like, approach, like, a plan or a puzzle or something from, yeah, from that more, like, cerebral point of view because I'm just like, I don't know,
Getting
I'm
lost in
just
the sauce.
yeah. Also, I just my brain doesn't work like that. Like, I'm
Mm,
so glad for Magnus at the table, Magnus and Ivar. Um who you might have heard their names if you're a
mhm.
subscriber. Ivar is actually our roommate. He paints a lot of our minis and stuff. He's been friends with Dali for a while. Magnus too. Yeah, they're really like they're smart guys. And if I ever have like mechanical questions or like if I'm trying to think about my build
Mm.
or stuff like that, I tend to ask them.
Do you like having such easy access to D&D in general?
Yes. Um I definitely like I never thought D&D would be this big of a part of my life.
Mm,
Uh but I'm enjoying it. Although I do joke a lot like so we share an apartment. Like
mhm.
we don't live in a house or anything. Uh I do sometimes say like okay, so I do wish a part of the house was not D&D themed because like basically we just have like one kind of living space and then like
Mm,
on one end is the kitchen
right.
so like the rest of it we have like this big table where we play and then like we have shelves with all the supplements and minis and stuff and like we have this little tiny little sun like I hesitate to call it a sun room. It's like a part has been kind of it's like kind of jutting out of the building,
Right.
so there's enough space for like a chair and a tiny little like bedside table.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is my zone. You boys can have the rest of the apartment be the nerd house, but I get this. And it was working great until like recently when we started to work on a 3D printing video and uh like ventilation is really important when you're 3D printing because we're using not filament oh it's like liquidy
Resin?
yes thank you resin and so when it yeah when the 3D printer is like
Mm.
working and stuff like that you know you have to wear a mask and you have to use gloves and all of that uh but but that little sunroom has the best ventilation and is the farthest away so now when we're like curing or printing something like that's being taken over and I'm just like okay, I'll read my book in the couch, I guess.
Your little spot was taken.
Yeah.
You need like a freestanding curtain or something. Just put it up. Be like, no.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a curtain because we got, like, basically blackout curtains because, in the summer and, like, now, the sun never sets, or
Right.
it's, like, it gets dim really, really late,
Mm.
so to record videos, like, it totally messes up the lighting. So we needed to get curtains that block out the sun because otherwise it would just look bad. So there's a curtain, but that's still like not enough. Like Eva was doing some printing today. We came home earlier and like the whole house smelled like resin. But you know, we're being safe about it.
You're living a very
We tried to be
strange
like out of
life.
the house all day. Yes, yes, my my life is much stranger than I would have anticipated.
It usually is for most people. But yeah, don't let the dog in. Right. How do you go about finding voices for your characters? Do you do voices for your characters?
Yeah, so voices are my least favorite thing because I hate sounding bad to myself
Right.
and I'm not a voice actor. Um, I basically have two. You know, this the same as I think most D&D players have their voice and the bad British RP version of their voice. Um, but
I
I like so I do try to give a semi distinct voice for all my characters. I also try to depend, on inflection, like sentence structure, and like how I say things,
Mm.
uh, because I think that that is also a huge part of how people talk.
Hmm.
So like for Octavia, I use my American accent, my normal voice, but I try to speak like a bit lower register, a bit gruffer.
Yep.
Um, for Maeve, I gave her a classic like British accent, but I try to sound a bit more like refined,
Mm.
I guess. Like I try to be deliberate with her language. Like she's educated, she's a lawyer, she's used to working like with rules. So
Hmm.
I try to think of like also how her thought process, like how she's used to like basically like words are her weapon. She's used to having to argue her case. She's used to
Yeah.
having to like frame things a certain way. So I try to think about like sentence structure a lot when I'm speaking as her. um One of my favorite characters that I'm not currently playing, it was in a previous like short adventure with Dale. Her name's
Hmm.
Carlotta. um I used to live in Massachusetts, so I gave her basically like a Boston accent, and I had her swear like a sailor. um that was a lot of fun. So yes, I do try to do a voice, but it's I accent factors a bit into it, but I
Mm.
I also like to think about, yeah, just how they speak, not what they sound like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so much more than just an accent. Like the words they use, sentence structure, how quickly they talk, how slow they talk, like you say, all very important. I do need to hear the British accent though.
That's not happening.
It's
You're
not
not putting that
happening.
on the internet. Nope.
What about
I'm not
after the
doing
video?
maybe.
I'll do my American
Uh
accent if you do your British one.
okay, fine, off camera.
Off camera. I wanted an exclusive. Uh,
Subscribe to our Patreon and maybe you can hear my British accent and Dada's goblin voice.
Daddy's Goblin voice. Have I heard Daddy's Goblin voice?
I don't think you have,
I don't
because he
think I
hasn't done
have.
it on the internet.
Yeah, but I talk to him otherwise when he's just being a little weirdo in various Discord servers. So
It's true. Sometimes he just kind of does it. So subscribe to our Patreon to join Discord and
subscribe to the Patreon.
yeah.
This is a threat.
Or actually, when is this video coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
I think in a month.
We have a done okay in a month. It should be still be up. There's a we have Dungeon Jam going on right now. Dungeon Mayhem.
Yep.
And there's a Discord server that's open to everyone. Just not, you don't need to pay or whatever. And there's a chat there that lots of people like to hang out with, and sometimes Dahlia hops in. So maybe he could do the gremlin voice there. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? I like a good goblin voice. Hard to argue with. I do my voices with my kids. They're like my
Hmm.
testing ground. So I'll read
Yeah,
books in voices, or I'll mimic silly voices they do, or characters on TV and stuff like that. It's a great way of
that's
doing it,
great.
and not looking
Yeah.
completely insane.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just a judgment-free zone, right? It's your
right?
children. Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah. Apart from occasionally, my son, who's about to turn 3, will just be like, "Stop, Daddy." It's like, oh, sorry.
You're doing it too much,
Yeah, you
okay?
need
Pull
to
back.
chill, bro. Do you have specific moments which are like a highlight for you looking back at the D&D that you've played?
Hmm. Um, well, I guess just like cool moments or things
Yeah.
that I remember. In that adventure where I was playing Carlotta, the swearing Bostonian, um, there was this really cool moment where we were kind of chasing this spy, basically, um, and like basically an encounter started. He was like way higher level than us. He had
Mm.
a gun, like he was super scary. Um, but he had this briefcase that we because we were basically trying, there was like this murder mystery and we were
Mm.
trying to find the detective who went missing. So we were trying to find the detective, and he had a briefcase. We were like, we need to know what's in it.
Mm.
Um and so yeah, this compound encounter starts, and he like pulls out his gun, or so basically the suitcase lands on the ground,
Right.
and in a split second I take the briefcase and run. uh and it was like super impulse, but it was super super cool because suddenly it's basically this chase sequence. I'm like running through a busy, basically like Victorian London
Mm.
street, and he has a gun and he's just trying to shoot me. And like he hits me a couple times, or at least like once, and
Mm.
basically almost immediately downs me. And I'm just sprinting. Uh, and I get to this bridge, like over a river.
Mm-hmm.
And like he downs me like right as I'm on the bridge. And basically as I go down, I throw the briefcase into the water. So he starts running because he cares about what's in the briefcase too.
Yeah.
This was so funny. Dave is trying to shoot me, so I'm prone, right? So he has disadvantage. And I swear to God, he shoots me like 4 times and misses. Like this thing does like I think if it was the Harper or like I think it
Mm.
was like 2d8 plus dex, and I think he had like 2 attacks, and he just missed. I was on the ground bleeding out, and he missed me like 4 times. But the character cared more about the briefcase
Yeah.
than finishing me off, so he like jumped over the bridge and like chased it, and then there was a whole chase sequence to like follow him and whatever. But it was just like this moment where I kind of impulsively was like, oh, what if I just like try this?
Yeah.
And then it was just like a whole mood shift because like the music changed and like it wasn't goofy in the moment, like it
Mm.
was like a big deal. uh so I think I'll definitely remember that for a while.
Very cool.
um yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's kind of a big one.
It's a cool one. I respect it. Do you have any advice for somebody who hasn't played D&D and wants to?
Mm. Um, Gosh, well, there's a lot of advice out there from lots of different people.
Like
I
Mystic
think,
Arts?
yes, like Mystic Arts. But I think what I would ask myself first is like, uh, how badly do I want to play? Uh, am I willing to do online or in person? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I was asking myself when I started playing. I was like, do I want to put in the effort to try to look for people on campus or like in a nerd store or whereby, or
Mm-hmm.
like sorry, nearby? And I was like, no, no, no. I just want like I want an easy way to dip my toe into this. And
Yeah.
like I've said before, like I'm an anxious person, so if it's online or whatever, like I can always just dip out and then I never have to see them again. Um, so I started online because I could then like I could peruse a bunch of different games. I could like submit applications and then make a whole bunch of different ones. So I think, yeah, it's good to identify like what you want from D&D or like
Mm.
how quickly you want to start, because that way already gives you several avenues to orient yourself. But from there, especially if you're looking to do in person or don't want to just go off with strangers,
Yeah.
think about your friends. If you're a nerd, do you play games with people? Do you play board games with people? uh you know Check your inner circle or mutual friends, things like that that you think you could get along with, that you don't mind spending several hours with, at least once a month, maybe twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
um and then, yeah, just think about what kind of cool character do I want to make in a fantasy setting or a non-fantasy setting. There's all sorts of DMs out there who do homebrew and, cyberpunk or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or make their own systems. So I think it's just like what attracted you to D&D in the first place? What's that kind of like spark of inspiration? And then you just follow that incessantly until you get what you want.
Very cool. That's it. We did it.
Oh, we did it.
We did it. I'm proud of us. Thank you so much for managing to find time in amongst being the best YouTube channel and also having a house full of resin fumes.
Yes, I'm in here to escape the resin fumes.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you want to plug at all?
Well, you could always follow Mystic Arts on YouTube or on our Patreon
Mm-hmm.
if you want to hang out with me or ask questions to Tave, because I'm not really ever on camera except like my hand or something in
Yep.
the end in the outros. So if you want to talk to the main guy, hop on over to our Discord, or if you're interested in any of the stuff that Tave has homebrewed, we release PDFs every month for our Mystic Adept tier. But if you just want to throw a couple bucks our way, don't care, we have a low tier for that as well. But as always, you could always just check out our videos. That's the easiest and most free way to support the channel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. We're gonna wave at the camera or finger guns or something. What's your preference of sign off? Yeah, we'll do waving. Bye.
Bye.